Okay, I've framed up a square area around to hold the epoxy so it'll go back into the rough shape. And you'll see I'm quickly mixing up the 2-part JB Weld epoxy. And I'm putting it on parchment paper with the brilliant idea of being able to just hold it up and pour it into that area. Unfortunately, I have the world's largest piece of parchment paper and had to do some adjustment on the fly. It was still too big, but it was effective. Toothpick, just pushing it down, spreading around, make sure there's no air pockets in there. Little too much epoxy, so I scooped that out. Just checking out for air bubbles. Okay. Here I'm using the flat for the one piece that had a split on it, and just the heat alone tends to do a really good job. There was a little bit of a gap. I put a little bit of that welding rod on there, melted it in, and turned out pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's going to work just fine. On the back side here, I'm doing exactly the same thing, just making sure it's square, melting the plastic back into more of a square position. Here I'm cutting that strengthening mesh. I'm going to put it on. This is the one that had a gap, slight gap to it, so I melted it with my heat gun, pushed it in so it's closer. And now I'm just going to apply this screen. Now the screen will move around, so you got to hold it until you get it secured somewhere and work very slowly. So I started off at the top. You can see, just hold it. It melts into the other plastic pretty good. Like, I don't think you need to put anything over top of it, like the integrity is there. So you can see. So once I get the one side done, then I'll fold it down 90 degrees and go across the bottom. As you can see, and there's nothing in the area where this is going to be, so I'm not too worried about it. Nobody's going to see it. It's inside the channel. So I'm pushing that in nicely. And the head of that iron gets really messy. Good thing there's two triangular heads. I would say keep one for lighter colors and one for black. But yeah, as you can see, little by little, just a couple little gap areas where this went in. That rod was really not the greatest thing on the planet. I found that there was probably more loose plastic on that unit. So there's the piece I used the epoxy on. It took an hour for it to harden up, 24 hours to cure. So I pulled it off. It's not a perfect square, but it is rigid and filling in that gap nicely. I'll have to drill it out, remove that paper that I put in to hold it. I'll drill that out tomorrow after it's fully cured. And we should be good on that front. Yeah, just another view of it there. If I could just hold the camera steady, that would be great. But yeah, there's the mesh. You can see it going across the bottom. Not a big deal, but it seems to be doing a good job. So we'll just leave it. Don't mess with it. All right. There we go. So you can see all the holes. I am going to go away from the rivets, and I'm just putting bolts through with nylock nuts on them, and I'll just have those all painted black when I go for reassembly. The 1/4-inch washers are just a pain in the butt to acquire. So here I am going to weld the first outside piece. That foil apparently is used to hold the crack together. So if you look closely, you can see that fine hairline crack. So holding it together. And there's the ugly one on the inside. And I'll be cutting some mesh to go over top of that crack and melting it in, similar to that other piece, just to provide that structural integrity. And make sure there's space clear. So there it is cut. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate for anyone who's ever plastic welded before. Like I said, this is my first time. I'm impressed with the results. Not my quality of work, but the capability and the results for this particular job. This is going to be inside the control head. Nobody's going to see it, so it's not really a big deal. Now the outside got a little rough, so I ended up, you see me here, trying to smooth the outside. So this is where that steel tape was. So it is a little ugly. I've applied a little more of that black filler to put a little more material on the outside of that crack. So it does look a little ugly right now, but I'm confident I can sand it smooth and hopefully polish it up to make it acceptable. Failing that, I will, there you can see it's a little ugly. Failing that, I will be just sanding it right smooth and spray painting the whole plastic head housing, and then just do the same on the other side. Who's gonna know? Right? The one tip though, don't waste your time trying to sand it till it is totally cold and rehardened. 220 paper. I tried touching it up just to see what it would do on the edge, and when it's not dry, it's not good. So, yeah, it's not pretty, but you know what? It's also not $3,000. So, and it'll be a lot better than that before I'm done. So there we go. The end of welding day. I had some tabs on this that were broken off. I welded them back on. In that particular thing, the inside idler system that I was just welding clips into those tabs, and both those tabs that you can see through there are what hold it on, and both were broke. So I added some reinforcement in the back and made them rigid, and then one of the outside clips that hold the two pieces together around the idler head was a little loose, so I put that on, and I threw a little piece of that screen on there to try and give it a little more rigidity. So there we go. There's our two pieces. Idler head done. These two pieces done. A little sanding tomorrow. Hopefully it cleans up nice enough. And then I start reassembly. Yeah. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, learning opportunities for me. If you're an experienced plastic welder, follow along. We're going to keep going. We're going to save $3,000. We're going to put this back together. Also, if you know what is so damn special about a wax screw for the awning, let me know. I know the size. I don't know if it's just the regular old screw that gets waxed, or a wax screw is a specific thing. So that's the only piece that I have not purchased. It broke off when I was taking it off. Yeah. Thanks for watching.